Out of curiosity, on a route like Meltdown, do you guys start by figuring out the moves or do you start by figuring out the gear? This is climbing gold. Like, how do you go about working a hard trad route like that?
I personally first figure out the moves because the gear seemed maybe not bomber, but like okayish. And so I first like just focus on the climbing, and once I got like the moves dialed, then I checked out the gear, and then I was head pointing, so I was trying the route on TR. Both of us were, and once we've also figured out the gear, we were trying to basically climb the route on TR, placing also the gear, and then we started to do lead tries.
Yeah, Babsi, anything to add?
I just was not sure if I'm able to climb that route, if it's too hard or not. So I just worked on top rope on it. And at the beginning, I was far away to just think about placing gear while climbing. I think it was really hard to place the gear because it takes so much power on that climb. And there is enough placements to protect it really well. But during climbing, you have to decide if you want to keep some power, then you definitely need to place less. And this was, for me, the only way to climb it. First, I wanted to place two pieces more, and I simply hadn't enough power to place these two pieces. And then I decided to place less, and it was a bit more dangerous, but I worked a lot on top rope, and I had the feeling that I will not fall on the first moves. So yeah, and it was, for me, it was crazy because I always thought that at the big flake on the upper part where you have a little rest, I thought there you really have bomber gear, and I was not sure if I placed the nut up there or not. I was questioning that. But luckily I placed it because 1 week after I have sent the route, Ethan Pringle fell off before placing the nut, and then he ripped out two of the very good cams and fell to the ground on a crash bed, so nothing happened. But he sent me the video, and I was super happy that it was after I have already sent the route. It would have changed a lot in my mind for sure.
That's great. I never heard that. I didn't know that Ethan decked off of freaking off of
Yeah,
Meltdown.
yeah. He I think he was just telling the Belair take, and then he just did a small jump into these two cams and ripped both of them, like the big one, and it is like a 0.75 and a small 0.2, and ripped both of them, and he got a little catch, and then he hit the crash pad on the ground. So it was still, it it didn't look safe, but he
No,
didn't
that doesn't
hurt
sound
himself.
safe. That sounds terrible.
No, but and for me it was always like, okay, when I'm at the flake, I'm 100% sure that I have bomber gear, and at the end it was not like that.
Would Doesn't that kind of raise the big question with trad climbing and with free climbing big walls and all that kind of stuff is that I mean the question is how do you evaluate the risks? Because so many of the falls you're never really going to test them and you're never really sure if the gear is good because in that case, maybe it was the case that the flake flexed, so that both pieces fell out
Mhm.
of the flake when you weighed it, which makes sense, like oh it's not that surprising. But you just never really know until somebody finds out. But the problem is when somebody finds out, then they potentially get very hurt. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
but
think the
I
challenge.
jumped. Yeah, I jumped multiple times into the flake to test it. I
Oh, you did.
placed more gear below just to see if it's not flexing too much, and it always catched me. So I was sure that it will hold, but maybe when I would have taken a bigger fall, then it's different. So it's hard. It's always hard to tell, and I think when you climb on cracks, I feel pretty safe because there the placements on granite, it's okay, but For example, when you trad climb on limestone, I don't really feel safe. On limestone, I don't really know if the rock can break, or when you place cams in pockets, it's also way more sketchy compared to placing the gear into solid cracks. So it's a big difference.